All right, welcome back. Going to do add visit part 2 here. Been a couple days. So basically, if you remember, I can add a visit because I've got it hard coded here um, under the add visit menu item. But I'm not accepting input from the user, like what the notes are, how many minutes the visit took, and how much they want to charge for that visit. So in order to do that, we need to, so we got press enter to save a new visit. So we want to change that to the first prompt. So enter notes, and then we'll read the notes. So I probably shouldn't have deleted that last line, but we know that we'll just read the scanner. So I'll say string notes equals scanner dot next line. I'll read in that next line and get the notes out. And then I could take this long message here and replace it with the notes variable from up here. Notice that when you see like the name on something, let's see if I'm typing, it's not showing, but when you see this, this is just IntelliJ telling you what the name of the parameter is. This is the name of the variable that you're passing to the parameter. So we'll bring in notes there. Then next we want an amount of length of the visit. So I'll say length equals scanner dot next int. I have to be careful of that carriage return new line issue that happens after a next int here in a second. So we'll say next int, but I need a prompt. So I'll copy this one down. And you'll put these, kind of group them. So I'll say enter length of visit in minutes. Maybe I'll put a colon after each of these. And then I think there's really a question of whether I want to print line so that they enter on the next line, or do I want just a print so that you enter it kind of after on the same line as the prompt. I think it kind of depends on what you're doing. Like this one, notes are going to kind of be long. So maybe next line on that one, and we'll try print, just print on this one. Then we get our length, and so here, this is the name of the parameter coming into the constructor of visit. So I'll just pass length there. We got that, and then lastly, we need to get an amount. So I'll just copy this down and say enter amount to charge client. Should I just say enter charges? I don't know. You could charges, we'll leave it at that. This is going to be, remember, our charges, if we look over at our visit object, are a double so that they can hold cents. So I could charge somebody, $2.20 or something like that if I wanted to, even though that's way too nice of me if I'm watching a dog. So I'll do next double. And then here, this will become an amount. And oops, I have int here still, right? I want to set that as double so that it matches up. That's what was going on. And then remember that here, if I enter a length like 20 minutes or whatever, 20, and then I hit enter as the user, next int will only read the line up until the point that it finds an integer, but it won't read the fact that the user had to hit enter after that. So there'll still be a new line in the buffer, right, of the scanner. So when it goes to read this, it will read out that new line and it won't work because, well, or would it happen here because I'm doing another numeric? Is it only when you switch from numeric to, I believe it's only when you switch from numeric back to strings, right? So I think we might be all right here. We'll test it, see if there's still an issue, and then I'll down here, just like before, I'll pass the amount. Okay. Variable. And notice this, right? I'm assuming that I'm kind of logging these as the positive pets dog walker, that I'm entering these, you know, when they happen, right? So I'm entering a visit. You know, transactions would be the same way for a bank or whatever, right? For personal finance, whenever you enter them is when the transaction will take place. So I'm just going to say local date time.now, place that in there. And yeah, this should work. I don't think I need a next int to handle the new line here. Why? Because it reads to the next int. It has a new line character in there, but it's going to look for the next double. So it'll skip over the new line and go to find the next double. If I read in a string from the scanner, from the input, the keyboard input, after this, I would need to make sure to ignore the new line, but I think I'm okay right here. So let's try this out, see if I'm thinking about this right. So I'll say to add visit. It says enter notes. Leo was sleepy and didn't want to walk. Enter length of visit in minutes. Notice how I'm on the same line right there because I probably need a space in between here. You see how I'm like going to type the number of minutes. Maybe I only stayed for 15 or something because I didn't have to walk him. But I'd like to have a space there. So I'll come up to length of minutes, put a space right there. Yeah. And then I'll hit enter. And then charges, same thing with charges, right? I'll want a space here. But for now, I'll just see if it works. So enter charges. I'll say $15, 15 minutes. And then the question is, did that work? I can click on 1 for view visits. And yep, Leo's entry is here. And if I look at the visits log here, you'll see that it got written out as it did. So I think, yeah, that's pretty good. Everything's working. I just needed to add a couple spaces there so that I could enter things on the same line there. Okay, so I think that I can consider that feature complete for the feature of add visit. So I'll go here and this time I'll like show you guys the commit because this video is pretty short. So I'd go into workbook 3 where I have positive. Remember the repo for me in this case. In your case, you'll go into, you know, whatever the name of your project is on the capstone 1 or whatever. Open a new terminal at that folder. If I say get status, it'll tell me that I, you know, modified visits.csv and app.java, right? Visits.csv got modified by my code, but I'll record that. So I'll do get add period because period handles modifications and adds. It just doesn't handle deletes. So I'm fine doing that. If I check the get status now, these have been staged, right? Ready to commit. So I'll commit them. And I'll say add visit part 2. And then I'll push it up to GitHub. So origin main, right, push it up to GitHub. Now I also want to, you guys we haven't really learned this yet, but I want to create a branch so it's easy for people to kind of see these changes. So I'll create and check out a new branch called add visit part 2. What did I call the first one? Look here. Add visit part 1. Yeah, so I'm naming it consistently. So I'll go ahead and do that. So at this point in my local branch, I have a copy, a branch, or in my local Git repository, I have a copy of that. But if I want to push it, I'd have to say git push origin, but I don't want to push to the main branch. I want to push to a branch named what I named the branch, right? Add visit part 2. Okay, so now if I come out here and I refresh, I should see add visit part 2. So there's a nice kind of checkpoint into this feature. And then, you know, if you were to do something like this, you would want to make sure you go back to the main branch. Well, depending on how you're doing development, but yeah, I'm going to do git checkout main. Okay, so I'm back on main and ready for the next video. So next, I'll probably do a report.